Welcome back to the Leaner, Stronger and Confident as Fuck podcast. Today I'm going to be sharing with you 10 ways that I changed my workouts to finally start building the lean, toned and defined body after 40 that I had been wanting for so many years. So tell me if any of the things that I'm going to share with you here sound familiar. You're working out 4, 5, maybe even 6 times a week. You're doing the classes, you're sweating, you're working really hard and showing up consistently. But when you look in the mirror, you don't see the definition that you want. You don't look toned, you don't feel like you are creating any different shape with all of the work that you're doing. And you don't look like someone who trains as much as you actually do. And you're starting to wonder, what am I missing? What is this secret hack that I am missing? And this was exactly how I was feeling. So if any of that sounds familiar, then this episode is going to give you so much gold of what you can also start to shift to be able to change your results. But this isn't about just working more or doing some secret hack or just doing more exercise or anything like that. It is about training smarter, training with intention, and starting to focus on the things that are actually going to move the needle with your body composition. These changes all made a huge difference for me, and I know they're going to do the same for you. So let's dive in. The first thing I did was I stopped focusing so much on cardio and group fitness classes, and I started structured strength training. So this was something that actually took me a while to properly transition away from in terms of group fitness classes, because I loved them. I absolutely loved group fitness. I, in fact, taught group fitness myself for years when I first became a personal trainer in 2014. I ran an outdoor fitness group in Sydney for 3 years. And I went to a boot camp first of all before I started that fitness business, and I completely fell in love with outdoor training, with group classes, the community that it gave, the fun it was, just how nice it was to just turn up and just someone tell me what to do for like 45 minutes, done and dusted, and then I could get on with my day. I loved it for that purpose, and that's why when I did become a personal trainer, I decided I wanted to do group fitness myself, but outdoor group fitness, because I just loved that whole vibe. I lived on the northern beaches in Sydney, and it was just so nice being able to enjoy exactly where you lived and train there. And I created this community as part of my fitness business, met so many amazing people through it who I'm still friends with today. I'm never going to knock group fitness for all of the positives that it can bring when it comes to a health and fitness journey. I think they're absolutely fantastic for all of those things that I just mentioned, for community, for fun, for turning up and getting a workout done, for general exercise, for being fit, for being healthy, and just having something that you can just enjoy the variety of if that's important to you. And after that fitness business, I then became an F45 instructor for several years as well. And F45 is a group fitness business which does have some strength classes, but mainly is focused on cardio as the bulk of their workouts. Cardio, HIIT style, circuit training effectively. And again, I absolutely loved it for all of the things that I've just mentioned for group fitness. But when it comes to changing your body shape, group fitness and specifically cardio is not going to cut it. You need to match the result that you want with the actions that you take. And so if you want to change your body shape, just exercising is not enough, unfortunately. And so you want to focus on structured strength training with the goal of building muscle. And when I decided to make that switch, I really started to see changes in my body that I had been wanting for so long. But it did take me a while to transition from group classes, from that cardio style of training to structured strength training properly. There was kind of an in-between time where I was dabbling, doing a little bit structured strength training, starting to do those strength classes, certainly at F45, and I would see an initial result, but then I couldn't ever take it further. And this is a problem that I see so many women experiencing as well when they come to me for coaching. And so many other women are also reluctant to give up their group fitness classes. And they say, can I just get the same result by doing this class? My class is called strength. Why is it not going to be enough? And as I go through the rest of these points, you'll start to see how those kind of classes can typically only take you so far. And the biggest thing to say really about group fitness classes is that their intent is different to what your intent needs to be if you want to change your body composition. Group fitness classes are typically designed to have more variety, to be fun, to be engaging, to make sure you kind of feel like you've flogged yourself by the end of it. And a big part of why people love group fitness is variety, and that is not really conducive to building muscle, because as you're going to learn, building muscle requires being very repetitive actually with the work that you're doing. And group fitness is not there, they're not designed to be able to elicit that specific result. They are designed mainly around kind of community and fun and all of those other things. So structured strength training 3 to 4 times a week with a clear plan is going to get you so much further than doing 4 to 6 random group classes a week ever will. And when I made that switch myself, and I actually ended up going to just 3 structured strength sessions a week, I made so much more progress than when I was training 6 to sometimes even 7 times a week just working out, because there is a huge difference between exercising and training. So I'll dive into more of that as we go through the next points. So the second shift that I made was I stopped chasing calories burned and I started chasing strength. This is huge because I used to think, you burn X amount of calories on that workout, it must be good. That was a good metric of success. But chasing calories burned doesn't build the body that you want. It just means that you worked hard in that moment. It does not correlate with building muscle. And if you want to train effectively, to lose fat or to gain muscle, then we need to focus on getting stronger. And we need to focus on building muscle through our workouts and retaining muscle through our workouts if we are doing a fat loss phase. And then we also want to focus on going through periods of fat loss and maintenance with our nutrition. We don't want to focus just on calories burned. That is just going to keep you focused on sweating, on working hard, on exercising, but not on doing what you need to be able to shift your body composition. So instead, you want to start thinking about, am I getting stronger than I did last week? Am I lifting heavier with better form than I did last week? Am I progressing these workouts? When that becomes the measure of your success, you will start to see the results that then are aligned with the actions that you're taking, which is you will build muscle more effectively. And when you focus on chasing strength, you also start to shift your focus instead to the different types of training that you're doing. Then it becomes not about just kind of how much you've sweated. You also start to focus more on recovery. You focus on fueling your body more effectively, and your body will respond to the actions you're taking by building muscle, as long as you also dial in the next points that we're going to be talking about here. And burning calories is something that I talk to so many people about when they come to me for coaching. That is what so many people are focusing on as a metric of success. But we want to instead shift to building our body composition in a different way, and that is going to come down to having more muscle on your body. The third shift I made was I stopped changing things up all the time, and instead I stuck to the same program for weeks at a time. So consistency with the same program. Strength training is a skill. And I used to think that you needed to have loads of variety. I wanted variety. I used to think when I was younger, because I thought that would keep me more motivated for my workouts, and I would do a different workout each session. I'd heard that you needed to confuse your muscles for them to grow, and that's not what you need to do at all. And so instead, strength training is a skill. And so we want to practice the same movements over and over and over again to be able to progress them effectively, to be able to make sure our execution is improving of them as well, to get the most out of those exercises. And that is how your body is actually going to respond by growing muscle. And so if you are constantly changing your workouts every single week, you don't know if you are applying progressive overload effectively, which we're going to talk about more in a moment. You're not going to be able to improve at getting the range of motion and execution right in the different exercises that you're doing if your exercises change every single week. And so in doing so, you're not going to be able to see the amount of progression and strength growth that you could as if you just repeated the same workout for at least 4 to 6 weeks. I'm currently doing a fitness photo shoot prep at the moment, and my exercises have not changed in the entire 15 weeks that I have been working with this coach. Instead, and I don't think they're going to change anytime soon either, because I'm still progressing them, and so there's no need to change them. I'm not here to plateau with any of them, so there's no need to shift something right now. And instead, I have been sending training videos to my coach of the same exercises for multiple weeks at a time, making slight tweaks to improve those things that I just mentioned. So I'm getting more out of the exercises that I am doing. That is how we are progressing them alongside focusing on increasing the weight and reps over time too. So the fourth shift that I made was I stopped winging it and I started tracking my workouts and my progress effectively. So I used to just, like I said, show up to the gym and do whatever class was on, whatever someone else had programmed that day. If I was going to a fitness class or if I was going to the gym, I'd kind of just do whatever I felt like doing based on my mood on that day. And before I started tracking my workouts, sometimes I was like, couldn't really remember what I'd done before. So I just felt like I was just picking up the same weight over and over and over again. And this is something as well that I see when I was teaching group fitness, and I would see people come to the classes and they would just gravitate to the same weight that they did before because it was their comfort zone. Maybe they'd be having a chit chat with their friend and, then they'd just be like, oh, I'm just going to pick this up because then I'm just going to chat with my friend, and they're not actually training with much intention at all. And look, this is completely fine if all you want to do is to focus on being fit and healthy with your exercise. That is completely fine if that's your goal. But if your goal is to change your body composition, we need to dial things in much more than that. So we want to track your workouts every single session so that you can see if you are getting stronger, so that you know how to progress it every single week. So you want to write down the amount of weight that you're lifting for each exercise, how many reps you are doing at that weight, and how many sets you're doing too. And then you want to think about how to actually focus on increasing the intensity so that you're getting within 1 to 3 reps of shy of failure every single set that you're doing, because that is the point where you are going to see the most adaptations with your body. When you start tracking things effectively, you'll be able to see patterns. You'll be able to see whether you're getting stronger or whether you've just been stuck at the same thing for ages. And you'll be able to then set yourself goals for each training phase to be able to then have something to aim for, which also keeps you more motivated and engaged too. And then if you're also tracking your progress alongside of things, you're tracking your measurements, you're tracking your weight, you're tracking your nutrition, then you're also going to be able to know exactly what adjustments might need to be made and when. Then the fifth shift that I made was I stopped looking for that secret hack I thought I was missing. I spent so long, 20 years perhaps, looking for this secret hacks that I was missing. There is no hack. You need to focus instead on the foundations when it comes to a body composition change. I really thought there was some secret exercise, secret training style, or like some nutrition fad that was going to finally unlock the results that I wanted, or that there was something wrong with me. That my metabolism was broken, or that, I just kind of messed my body up by too much dieting when I was younger. And what I have learned through lots and lots of trial and error, but also then finally diving into the science of body transformation, applying it myself, and of course now working with all the clients that I have and being able to help them too, is that it is all just the foundations done really, really well is all you need to focus on. The foundations of health are the same foundations as body composition results too. We want to make sure we are strength training 3 to 4 times a week. Yes, to change your body shape, because that is going to give you the ability to build and retain muscle, but also that is also going to be really important for your health, because you need to protect your muscle mass as you age. And it's also really important for overall strength, for mobility, for your posture, for insulin sensitivity, for so many other different factors as well. And so we want to strength train 3 to 4 times a week. We want to focus on quality sleep, stress management, drinking enough water, getting enough daily movement through having a steps count throughout the day, eating enough protein, important for muscle mass, but just also important for your health and metabolism too. Making sure your diet is mostly whole foods for health and for satiety and for fiber and gut health and all of those things too. And we really just need to double down on those instead of thinking that there is some other hack that we are missing. And crucially, just make sure that you are, if it comes to nutrition, eating the right amount for your goals, whether that is maintenance or fat loss, not dieting all of the time. And when it comes to strength training, that is the hack, not cardio. It's not something about like building up a sweat or burning calories. It is strength training effectively with the goal of building muscle that is actually going to be the thing that is going to help you change your body shape when it comes to your workouts. And so dialing in the foundations of that look like applying the steps that I am talking about here in this podcast, and really focusing on training with intent, not just going through the motions, but really focusing on doing it effectively and supporting it with those other aspects of health that I mentioned. Because if you are managing your stress and sleep, you will also recover better, which means you will build more muscle, which means you'll be able to turn up to your training sessions because you're well recovered and train more effectively. Your nutrition supports that too. Getting enough daily movement is also going to support your overall health and fitness, which is also going to help you train harder in your sessions. Getting enough water so that you are, again, well hydrated when you go into your sessions. All of this is going to help you get the most out of your strength training, which is going to help you get the best results in changing your body composition too. Number 6 is I stopped thinking that just more workouts was better, and I started focusing on training quality, dialing in those things that I have just mentioned, but stopping thinking that it's just about more effort or more willpower or more discipline or just adding in a session. And I have clients come to me who say that they're sometimes doing 2 sessions a day because they think that more is better. And their work ethic is not the problem, it's their strategy. You shouldn't be needing to do that amount to be able to change your body shape. Now, that's not to say that at certain times you are working out more than others if you are going through a fat loss phase, for example. But the core foundation of strength training specifically doesn't need to be more than 3 to 4 times a week to get amazing results. And so currently, in the fat loss phase of my photo shoot prep, I am actually doing quite a lot right now. I'm doing 4 strength sessions a week and I'm doing 3 cardio sessions a week. And so I am in the gym 7 days a week. But this is because I'm at the tail end of my photo shoot prep. I've got about 10 weeks to go until my photo shoot. I'm in a fat loss phase and I'm doing some more cardio to be able to keep my food higher while going through this photo shoot prep in the fat loss piece. But when I'm back in maintenance, I will go back to doing 3 to 4 strength sessions a week and then cardio probably just twice a week for overall health and fitness, and much shorter duration than what I'm doing now. But one of the times that I made the most progress with my training and with my physique was actually when I completely made that shift from group fitness classes to structured strength training sessions. And I just did 3 full body sessions a week in strength, no cardio, and I just walked and focused on my nutrition alongside it. And that was because I was able to then really push those sessions harder. I was training the muscle groups 3 times a week, the key muscle groups, really high quality sessions, really working on that intensity piece. I was having enough recovery. I was having enough headspace to be able to focus on my nutrition too. And I was just walking lots, so I was being really active. And I made great improvements with growing muscle in that time. Just doing 3 times in the gym a week versus all the times when I was turning up to the gym 4 to 6 times a week, just doing random workouts. So we don't need just more. We need to focus on what we are doing better. Sometimes cutting back on volume and increasing the focus on quality is something that is going to set you up for so much more success. Then number 7 is I stopped treating soreness and sweat as a measure of good progress, and I started tracking progressive overload and getting close to failure. So we've talked about these 2 things a little bit throughout this podcast, but it's not about feeling like the session has completely flogged you when you are trying to grow muscle. That's actually the wrong metric of success, and sweat and soreness and feeling the burn are not indicators that you are building muscle either. That just means that you did something that your body isn't used to, or that you had a good cardio session, or that you were challenging your overall health and fitness. None of those things are correlative to actually building muscle. So building muscle, we need to provide enough stimulus on our muscles for our body to go away and adapt and come back stronger. That is done by progressive overload, lifting more over time, and training close to failure. And a lot of people think that they've got the progressive overload bit down pat because they are focusing on adding weight or reps to the bar. But if they are missing the intensity piece, they're still going to miss a big part of what actually changes your physique. We need to focus on training 1 to 3 reps shy of failure with every single set. And this is something that I have been working on myself over the last couple of years. And then in the last 15 weeks of working with this coach, I've been dialing in even more. And over the last 15 weeks of having someone look at my videos of my training every single week, so I send him a couple of exercises from most of my sessions each week, and he looks at both the form and he looks at the intensity. I'm still realizing even now how much more there is in the tank. When you think that you are close to failure, most of us aren't even close. And the training videos that I've looked at of my own clients, they prove the same thing. Our perception of what is close to failure is often just so far from the mark. And if we are really needing to be within 1 to 3 reps shy of failure to see the most progress, and we're not even getting close to that, that's how we can end up turning up to the gym multiple times a week and feeling like nothing is changing. So yes, progressive overload is super important. Having and tracking your workouts is going to help you apply that effectively. We can progress our workouts by adding weight, adding reps, but also focus on the range of motion, the execution, and also slowing down and really activating the muscles that we're working. And then that intensity piece comes with practice. And I always say, just start practicing taking an exercise to failure with something that's safe to do so. Don't start doing it with like a deadlift or a squat where you're much more likely to injure yourself if you do it incorrectly or you push yourself to failure. We don't want to start playing around with it in those exercises. Instead, focus on something like a bicep curl where you could safely drop dumbbells if you couldn't lift the weight up anymore, or a lateral raise, or you could focus on doing it with a leg extension in the machine, or a leg curl in the machine. Those exercises are going to be much safer to do so, and practice taking it as far as you could go. Doesn't matter what your rep range is saying in the program, just take it as many reps as you can at that weight and really see exactly what it feels like to get close to failure and to take something to failure. And then you can use that experience in your body to then dial other exercises in your program to that level of intensity where you're getting close to failure. You don't want to start taking every single exercise to failure because it can be very taxing on your central nervous system. And like I mentioned, some exercises are not those kind of ones that we want to play around with, but exercises that it is safe to do so, really start pushing it so that you can start to get closer to that point. You will see so much more progress in your workouts if you do that. And then number 8 is I stopped skipping rest periods and I started treating them as just as important as the sets themselves. So this also goes into how I approached recovery overall. But I used to, go through the motions in my workouts a bit, or rush through them, or think the rest bit was nothing, that I was just being lazy if I rested too much. But rest is actually part of the training, because if you think about the fact that we want to push really hard in our sets to get close to failure every single set, but then if we're just rushing our rest periods, we're not going to be well enough recovered to then do the next set effectively to be able to get the most out of that set. And so you're not going to then improve your training quality if you're just breezing through every rest. And this is something that I always say to my clients. If you do not feel like you really need that rest, then you have not typically trained hard enough in your sets. And so if you are finding your rest periods boring, or you're feeling like you need to throw something in there like doing burpees or something like that, please don't do that in your rest periods. Then you definitely need to look at how hard and how intense you're actually training, because you should really need that rest. And everything is about making your sets more effective. So think about those rest periods as being just as important in preparing you to be able to perform properly in your next set. And then it's not just about rest periods, it's about your recovery as a whole. That comes from good quality sleep, stress management, good quality nutrition, and days where you are having days off strength training and doing some perhaps active recovery in that time too. Then number 9, the shift that I made was I stopped expecting results in just 8 weeks, and I started committing to the process for months and years. As I mentioned earlier, one of the best things I ever did for my physique was pretty much taking a whole year of dieting and just focusing on maintenance in that time. And really over the course of about 2 years, I spent most of the 2 years at maintenance with a little bit of a cut in that time period, but most of the time was at maintenance. And that was one of the best things I did for my physique journey. I built more muscle in that time. I felt much more recovered. So therefore, when I did then go into a cut, I was able to get better results because my metabolism was in a strong place. And I also had such a mental break from dieting that I also felt ready to do it more effectively too. When it comes to results, if you are looking to build muscle, it takes months and years to make significant changes. It's not to say that you can't see changes within a few weeks, perhaps 8 weeks, you can start to see some changes. But ultimately, if you really want to make a difference to your physique, you need to extend the timeline. You need to start thinking in terms of a full transformation cycle where you are spending time priming your body before fat loss, going through a fat loss phase if that is appropriate for whatever results you have, then getting back to maintenance, then spending time at maintenance, building muscle, training effectively, giving yourself months and months and months to be able to put that into practice. I used to just keep focusing on the next 8-week challenge or a 6-week shred or this next fad, thinking that that was going to be the thing that was going to magically create the body that I wanted. And when I just put the blinkers on to all of that and just committed to the foundations and stopped thinking that I had to get somewhere in a rush, I made a huge, huge change in my physique. And it kind of like happened gradually and then all of a sudden, and that I noticed that I'd made a massive difference to my physique. And I realized I'd done it without thinking that it had to be done now. It made such a shift in my approach, and I also was then able to just enjoy the journey so much more. And now I am so far along this journey of changing my body shape. You know, I love my physique as it is right now, and I'm still excited to kind of take things further. And I know that I'm going to commit to strength training for as long as I'm physically able to do so. And I also know that that's going to be a really long time because I strength train, and I love it when I'm in the gym and I see people in their 80s sometimes, like they're, you know, still strength training, and I love it. And I'm like, I am going to be in the gym still well into my old age, being able to do things to look after my body then, because it just gets even more important the older that you get because of that importance to keeping hold of your muscle mass. Then number 10, the last shift that I made was I stopped trying to shrink my body and I started focusing on building a confident, strong body instead. Now, this was an inner shift that I made, a mindset shift, and it was something that underpins all of the physical differences that I changed as well. And having a goal that was much more with a positive intent to build up my body, to focus on becoming a strong, really capable physique where I felt great in my own skin. That's a much different focus than I want to be smaller, I want to weigh less, I want to, lose fat. Like, that's a much different physique focus. And in doing so, it actually gave me the results that I'd been looking for all along when I was just dieting and trying to shrink my body instead. You cannot build a strong, defined physique if your only goal is to shrink, because if your only goal is to shrink, you'll be endlessly dieting, and that will actually be compromising your muscle mass over time if you do it to excess, which I see so many people trying to do. They're always trying to eat low calories, stay on low calories, smash loads of cardio, and wondering why they're struggling to change their body. It's because they're not dedicating any time to actually building muscle, and their body shape is barely changing and sometimes getting worse if they are doing those more extreme yo-yo methods of trying to change their body shape. So we want to focus, if we are building our body, we know then that we don't just want to focus on fat loss. We want to focus on time at maintenance, building muscle in between fat loss phases. We want to focus on fueling our body so that we're giving our bodies enough energy to train effectively, to recover well, to getting enough protein, eating enough calories at maintenance. And if you build muscle, you will also be able to typically diet on higher calories as well. I'm going through a fat loss phase at the moment, making great progress. And my low days right now are 1675 calories. I'm sure it will get slightly lower as I get deeper into this photo shoot prep. But right now, everything's going great on 3 low days of that and then 4 higher days of 1885 calories. So building muscle is making everything about body composition so much easier. Training to get stronger instead of burning calories. Not measuring success by how much you sweat, but instead by how much you are lifting. These shifts in your mindset can change everything. They certainly did for me, so I know they can for you too. So there you have it, 10 ways that I changed my approach to my workouts that finally helped me build the lean, defined, and strong physique that I had been chasing for years. So let's recap them quickly. Number 1 was I stopped focusing on cardio and group classes and started structured strength training. Number 2 was I stopped chasing calories burned and I started chasing strength. Number 3 was I stopped changing things up all the time and I stuck to the same program for weeks and weeks at a time instead. I stopped winging it and started tracking my workouts and progress. That was number 4. Number 5 was I stopped looking for the secret hack and I doubled down on the foundations. 6 was I stopped thinking that more workouts was going to be better and I started focusing on training quality instead. Number 7 was I stopped treating soreness and sweat as a measure of success and I started tracking progressive overload and training intensity instead. I stopped skipping rest periods and started treating them as part of the training. That was number 8. Number 9 was I stopped expecting results in 8 weeks and I started committing to the process for months and ultimately years, and I'm not done yet. And number 10 was I stopped trying to shrink my body and I started focusing on building a confident, strong body that looks like it lifts. So none of this is complicated, as you would have heard. None of it is a secret hack or fad that you are missing. It is the foundations. It is the science of getting stronger and building muscle, and all of it works. So if you have been working out consistently but not seeing the definition that you want, I know that you will be missing one or several of that list that I just mentioned. So as you have listened to this podcast, think about the one that resonates with you the most, that you are drawn to change first out of all of those things. Start there and then watch what happens as you apply that, and then start to gradually apply the next one and the next one too. That's it for this episode. If this resonated with you, send me a DM on Instagram and let me know which shift you're going to make first. I would absolutely love to hear. And if you are ready to stop guessing and start training with a clear plan that is actually built to change your body composition along with the nutrition to match your goals, then apply for coaching with the link in the show notes below or send me a DM on Instagram to get started. Thanks so much for listening, and I will look forward to chatting to you more on the next episode.